Welcome to this second video on supporting curriculum implementation with an emphasis here on stage 2 early implementation. My name is Misty Higgins and I'm joined by Fox DeMoisey, and we are both professional learning coordinators in the Office of Teaching and Learning at KDE. So in terms of the purpose, we have two objectives. The first is that we want to deepen understanding of the purpose of early implementation and its key responsibilities, and then provide recommendations from the field to support districts in effective early implementation of their HQIR. We want to start by anchoring in the visual you see here on the slide that highlights the four key elements needed to help strengthen Tier 1 academic instruction. It starts with the first key element of having a common instructional vision in place for a content area, and it moves all the way to the ultimate impact that we would want to see from that, which is an improved student experience and outcomes. And we often talk about how the gray boxes in the middle are the bridge work that moves us from that vision to impact. So today, we're going to be digging into aspects of key element 2 and how we can ensure true access to the HQIR, and key element 3, providing that high quality professional learning, and how those together will support educators in maximizing the impact of the HQIR on classroom instruction. We have developed 3 foundational implementation resources to support districts with the work around each of these key elements. So the 3 resources include the curriculum development process, specifically phase 4, with its associated tools for year-over-year goal setting, planning, and monitoring. The second is the curriculum implementation framework to support planning and reflection. And then we have the curriculum-based professional learning guidance document to support planning for and providing CBPL. You can access these resources on kystandards.org on the Model Curriculum Framework page. This slide shows how KDE is delineating the stages of effective curriculum implementation. Each of the 3 stages plays an important role in moving towards sustainability and refinement, and today we're focusing on early implementation, which is going to occur during that first year of use, often extending into year 2, as we are seeing with many districts here in Kentucky and nationally as well. This is a screenshot from stage 2 of the curriculum implementation framework. And again, that just provides a detailed roadmap of the key responsibilities broken down by role group for each of the 3 stages of curriculum implementation. And in this video, we're going to spotlight some of the key responsibilities from the district and school leader columns, along with some recommendations just based on experiences from districts across the state as they engaged in the work of early implementation. So first, let's start with the purpose of early implementation. This stage is about leadership establishing systems, structures, processes, and expectations, educators using the HQIR as designed, and engaging in intellectual preparation to just deepen their understanding of the HQIR at both the unit and the lesson level. So now let's look at some of the key responsibilities critical to success in this stage. An important key responsibility is for leaders to set clear implementation goals each year and to develop an aligned monitoring plan. This visual just highlights the types of implementation goals that you might set specifically related to curriculum implementation. And you can see it includes access to professional learning, the quality of that PL, quality of classroom instruction, and student outcome goals. For each type of goal, the chart includes key questions that we would be seeking to answer, along with methods that we might use to measure that goal. So I'll pause and give you a moment to read through those now. So this is looking at the types of goals that you might set each year, but now we want to look at what might your goals look like in year 1 or during that early implementation first year of use. So here's an example of year one goals and how they seek to measure different things from different groups aligned to common indicators for early implementation. And you can see here that they have student outcome goals, teacher and leader outcomes, as well as a goal around beliefs and mindsets. An important note as you review these is that the numbers could be adjusted based on your local context. So don't get too caught up in the numbers. Again, this is just an example. So we want to pause and give you time to review these sample goals. A few things to note. Student outcome goals are important to have. And in this case, the district's going to be following students in a sample group to track their growth over the year. You're going to see there's some alignment between the teacher and leader outcomes because in order to understand if teachers are using the HQIR consistently and as designed, leaders are going to have to do some classroom observations, which you see reflected in the leader goals. We also want to ensure as leaders that we do something with that data and that we use it to help inform teacher support as well as identifying professional learning needs. The belief and mindset goals can be important to just help understand how those are changing over time. Often we see teachers that have reluctant or resistant mindsets during very early implementation, but after sticking with it and starting to see those student outcomes change, there's often a shift in their mindset and their support of the curriculum and HQIR.
So when we look at the two responsibilities in the red box here, and in particular at developing a professional learning plan aligned to implementation goals and determining how best to structure that PL, while also considering the core processes of intellectual preparation, this figure from the Structuring Professional Learning Cycles resource can be useful to consider, since it shows a coherent way the core processes of intellectual preparation can be established within a yearly PL plan. The first quarter, which could be 9 weeks or it could be a semester, however long it requires, would focus on taking the overarching understanding of the HQIR's instructional model and design principles from launch, and then explore how they're reflected at the unit level using the new core process of unit internalization. This would involve bringing educators together for shared learning around sort of the what, why, and how of unit internalization, calibrating and setting expectations before releasing teachers to practice in PLCs as leaders participate alongside them and provide feedback. An important side note, leaders engaging alongside teachers is critical in order to emphasize the importance of this work, to model the vulnerability this work requires, and to build the understandings leaders will need to gather good data and provide effective feedback. At the end of the first quarter, leaders would engage in quarterly reflection to determine if unit internalization has been successfully established. If so, the cycle would repeat for the remaining core processes: lesson internalization, lesson rehearsal, and student work analysis. And again, this is just one example of how professional learning can be structured based on some national models, but making sure there is a coherent structure to the professional learning provided is critical. Taking these three responsibilities together that you can see boxed here, recommendations from the field based on what we learned from work with national partners and our work with Kentucky districts are: implement the resource as designed during early implementation to more fully understand its instructional model and design principles. The understanding of the HQIR implementing it as designed will afford is critical when you reach ongoing implementation, when districts refine their use of the resource, since it allows them to know the impacts of those refinements and to make sure they're adding value to the HQIR and how it's operating within the local curriculum without compromising integrity. And then work with an HQIR vendor or curriculum-based professional learning provider to support troubleshooting specific pacing issues. Those vendors or providers can help create a pacing plan based on district needs and then consult along the way when adjustments may be needed to make sure resource integrity is maintained. Use the step backs to determine if an intellectual preparation process has been established and educators are indeed ready for the next. And if educators are not ready, adjust plans to provide that necessary time. And then find creative ways to share bright spots with stakeholders. So it could take the form of something like an article or a newsletter or a meeting held This work is challenging, and shared successes effectively communicated can help carry it forward. For the 5 bullets inside the red box here, under the key responsibility of district leaders engage consistently with school leaders and teachers in collaborative PL, we would offer the following recommendations from the field. Utilize external partnerships. Again, could be HQIR provider or a CVPL provider, regional cooperatives, etc. To provide systems level coaching to build leadership capacity. Leaders across our 3 HQIR pilots here in Kentucky have attested to how powerful this coaching support has been for them and for those they serve. Establish a consistent leadership presence in PLCs, supporting intellectual preparation and providing regular feedback. Again, leaders' active instructional involvement in PLCs is vital to supporting their work. And then ensure district and school leaders engage in CBPL. So that need for active instructional involvement mentioned a moment ago for leaders in PLCs is true as well for CBPL and other settings, such as workshop trainings that are provided by HQIR vendors, HQPL providers, and/or instructional leads within the district. So leaders recognize that change is hard and that there's a need for change management. How to manage change, however, may not seem so straightforward. 2 concepts we'll explore over the next few slides come from the work of the Center for Public Leadership at the Harvard Kennedy School, and they are technical versus adaptive challenges. Technical challenges are those that pertain to defined systems, structures, policies, and expectations. They are more clearly defined problems, and using expertise to address them removes certain more concrete or limited barriers. Within HQR implementation, these should be planned for and executed prior to HQIR implementation whenever possible, so addressing those proactively. Adaptive challenges, on the other hand, have to do with supporting people as they accept, adjust to, and embrace change. These challenges tend to be more ambiguous, to require more new learning and to involve more collective action, but addressing them brings extensive change over time. Within HQR implementation, addressing the root cause of educators not yet embracing change leads to gradual shifts in mindsets, beliefs, values, priorities, and/or habits. District and building leaders must both lead and be supported by work of both kinds, as they too will face technical and adaptive challenges in their roles. To help these concepts become more clear, the next 2 slides contain examples of each kind of challenge in the form of recommended replacement actions. So take a moment to examine a set of, instead of this, try this examples for technical pitfalls or challenges. The only commentary I'll add here is that we have seen Kentucky districts navigating each of these technical challenges. Also, again, notice how discrete each challenge is and how directly each action addresses it. All right, let's take a moment now to examine a set of examples for adaptive pitfalls or challenges. So again, I'll give you a moment to examine these. So these are common enough that there may be a bit of each among at least some leaders anytime a district is new to implementing HQIR. Notice the try this actions to address these challenges are clear, but not one-time plug-and-play solutions. Making a Kentucky connection, we have seen multiple districts leverage the second try this suggestion and use celebrating progress with educators and stakeholders to help carry the work forward along the learning curve. The value of finding ways to lift up what's going well cannot be overstated. So thank you for taking time to watch this video, and please reach out with any questions you might have.